Connection terminated. Did you know Five Nights at Freddy's was supposed to end, like, multiple times? Well, there was always a reason for Scott to keep going, which will be touched on later in the video, but yeah. There are 3 certain FNaF games I can point to where they had a sense of finale to them. Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Today I want to talk about that. Finales in any media, games, books, movies, TV shows, anything. They're supposed to serve as bookends to the story or whatever was set up prior. It's the payoff. It's the conclusion. Whether that be an important characters at a different place from where they started, or the pieces of a puzzle set are just finally solved. A finale can be very satisfying, or it can leave you with more questions than answers. I want to go over what makes these 3 FNaF games I previously mentioned finales, and if they do a good job at doing so. Spoiler alert, there is a good job done here. This is the beauty of FNaF's finales. Five Nights at Freddy's 3, released in 2015, was meant to serve as the original finale to the FNaF series, making it originally a trilogy. Now, technically FNaF 1 could be considered a finale game because Scott originally was just going to make FNaF 1 and no sequel, but thanks to the popularity of the game, FNaF 2 happened, and FNaF 1 doesn't have any finale aspects since, again, it was meant to be a standalone game with no ongoing narrative. FNaF 3 qualifies though, and for the most part it does an amazing job. The first thing about FNaF 3 that gives a sense of finale to the series is the fact you're up against Afton himself as Springtrap. For the first 2 games, you were going up against the dead kids as the animatronics they became, and for how newspaper mentions in FNaF 1 and minigames in FNaF 2, Afton, the murderer of the children, was hyped up as this important figure in the lore. In this game, the fact you're going up against him is so poetic and is a really cool payoff to the whole mystery for him that was in the first 2 games. It's like a final boss. He's the true boss of the series, and it's you versus him, the villain. Does that not sound amazing or what? I am going to admit this though, not proud of his jump scare at all. It was considered unscary and unsatisfying at the time of release, especially for who Springtrap was supposed to be, and this would end up prompting Scott to make FNaF 4 for a hopefully scary and satisfying conclusion. However, I do think Springtrap's jump scare is the only setback when it comes to FNaF 3's finale-esque tone. It's instantly redeemed, that being the lore and ending of the game. The murdered children incident victims are finally set free into the heavens, and the souls get their happiest day. It's a conclusion to behold. It's a conclusion to what the first 2 games set up when it came to the murders. The happiest day minigame itself is very sweet in its music and context and quaint little charm. And the final screen for the good ending, oh my god, it goes hard. Both the screen itself and the music. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was a great finale for the series. Minus Springtrap's jump scare, everything else going for the game warrants a finale feel that would have not been disappointing in the slightest. It's one of those finales that makes you wish it stopped here, you know? But then, we carry on to Five Nights at Freddy's 4, released in July 2015, was also meant to serve as a finale to the FNaF series. It was promised to serve as a scary and terrifying conclusion to the whole series.
The thing is, like, everyone wants me to play this game to get scared, but after 4 games, I don't know what to tell you. You know there's just gonna be jump scares. If there's something else than that, then maybe I'll be scared, but it's like, if you know what to expect, then 4 times, then they're just kind of like over. Go away.
Yeah, okay, so personally, I love FNaF 4. I think it's really good gameplay-wise. However, as a finale game, no, I'm sorry. It doesn't work. There's nothing in the gameplay that really sells me as a series finale. Nothing huge happens in the gameplay like Springtrap did in FNaF 3, where it was you versus the villain of the franchise. Sure, it's a different setting and everything, and the animatronics are a different variant, but it's not enough for me to consider it grandiose as a finale. And the lore in this game has just always been a mindfuck. Now, the Bite of 83, alright. If it was the Bite of 87, I see this game being better as a conclusion, since the Bite of 87 was something that was set up in the games prior, but no, since the Bite of 83 was it doesn't get that, I'm sorry. And the box too. There are rumors that what was inside the box was supposed to confirm the dream theory, which basically suggested that all the FNaF games were dreams of the crying child, and I'm with the majority in thinking that would have been an unsatisfying payoff. So for what was supposedly inside the box, it hurts FNaF 4 as a conclusion still, and even with the fact we no longer know what's inside the box and it was changed, it's still not good for a conclusion because of the lack of satisfying payoff. The fact the box is so mysterious just hurts any finale feel this game was going for. Personally, while I think FNaF FNaF 4 is a great game, I don't think it's a great finale. It pales in a lot of aspects, and if the series ended here, I wouldn't have been satisfied and wanted more. Thankfully though, the next game we're going to talk about works as a finale to the FNaF series so much better. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, released in December 2017, to me, serves as what would have been the perfect conclusion to the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. Gathering all the remaining souls into one place to set them all free, that is what I would like to call a bookend. It's taking everything left from the previous games and bringing it all together to form an end. Other aspects of the game like Midnight Motorist, Fruity Maze, and Security Puppet also bring closure to a lot of questions left about the FNaF lore. Like for example, we get to see more of how Charlie died and became the puppet, and then there's of course the ending of the game. To this day, this ending gives me chills. Good chills. It's the remaining spirits, both good and evil, finally going to the afterlife. The spirits of the fun times, Elizabeth, Charlie, and of course Afton. But even then, Afton is still painted in a bad light. He's going to hell. Henry even says so. It's a satisfying end to Afton too, because he's finally getting more comeuppance for what he's done. Yeah, he became Springtrap, which already served as a comeuppance, but him going to hell just does it for me. Now, there's the elephant in the room, security breach, I know, burn trap, mimic, blah blah blah, but that whole thing doesn't undermine how glorious and honestly genius this ending was at the time. Ultimate Custom Night would come out afterwards, which served as an epilogue more than anything, and I consider Help Wanted and After to be a whole other book with chapters. This is the final chapter to the first book. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator is personally one of my favorite games in the franchise, and this ending is one of the major reasons why. It's a beautiful payoff to a series of games with lore and ties it all together wonderfully. There is more questions answered than unanswered. Characters are in different places from where they started, and a kick-ass hero monologue, music, and visuals. And that is the beauty of Five Nights at Freddy's finales. End communication.